Welcome to Mystic Talks. Today I'm going to talk about the question, does God exist? Because a number of people have actually asked me that in the comments, and perhaps you'd like to continue this argument in the comments below this video. But, you know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Does God exist? Because they say, okay, you're a medium, right? You should know these things because, you know, you're in touch with the spirit world and therefore should know whether God exists or not. And my argument is, well, I can't really. I can't tell you that. I can't answer that because what my role as a medium is to prove that there's life after death. So I can prove that there's an afterlife through the evidence I give, but I can't use the same criteria to prove there's a God, you know. So people like me are not therefore, you know, we can't look to people like me to say, oh, well, you should know, because, you know, it's not like that. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit around the some of the stuff in my book in my book Messages from the Universe, because in there I describe how I went on TV and had an argument with Richard Dawkins. Now, those of you who know Richard Dawkins, he's a very prominent scientist and evolutionist particularly. And a very interesting man, a man actually I liked as a person very much, although we completely differ with our arguments, you know. Now, this was the program Enemies of Reason, and I'll put a little video up if I can, up in the corner as I'm talking now, so that you can have a look at the rushes for that, because it will show you the arguments that were said. But in basis, our argument was, you know, he came in all guns blazing to me with, you know, that this is a load of belief, basically. And I thought, yeah, this is what he's going to do. He's going to just say to me that it's, you know, this chocolate teapot floating around the earth and, you know, you prove it. And no matter how much you believe in the chocolate teapot floating around the earth, there's not one there. And the argument of the rationalist goes, you know, and same applies to God. There's no man in the sky. And that's all correct. And like I say, I can't prove that one way or the other. But obviously, when one does start to go down along the mystical path, the question of does God exist obviously comes up. But the thing is, you have to first of all understand what we mean by God. You know, it's a dreadful word, really, because everybody has completely different ideas about it. You know, hence all the religions of the world, you know. I mean, what one lot says that it's this and another lot says that it's that. And most importantly, they all say, unless you believe in our version of God, you know, you're going to burn in hell, or you're going to, you know, have a real bad time, mate, you know. And it's a bit like Homer, you know, oh God, I hope I've invested in the right God, because if I've been worshipping the wrong one, I'm in trouble, you know. You know, that it's not like that. It's not. First of all, you see, the problem is people start thinking about God as something external to us, the man in the sky idea of God. You know, that it's a creator that built the earth and did all these things. You know, you're thinking about it in a material way. You've got to think about God in terms, I believe, is consciousness, awareness, the spirit that is this world. In fact, it's more than that, because it's God. This is my theory. God is everything. It's one, right? God didn't create the world. The world is God. It came from God. It's always has been, always will be. It's timeless. There's no beginning. There's no end. Even the material universe seems to have a beginning and an end with the Big Bang. But you know, how many times has it happened? How many multiple universes are there? You know, it's all there forever and always has been. So what is this God bit then? Well, God, I believe, is, I don't know that word, mustn't use that word believe. God is really the consciousness of it all, the self-awareness of it all. Could it not be that this whole existence is here so that God can become conscious of being God? You know, that the universe can be conscious of being a universe. Because if we were not aware of any of this, what's happening, if we were not aware, you know, would it exist at all? Would it be? You know? So we are consciousness. We are, because of that, we're also being. You know, we're consciousness and being. Those two things create the universe. And And we're also, because of that, we're also bliss as well, because that's the ultimate thing. Sat Chitananda, they say in the Indian teachings, you know, consciousness, being and bliss. That's what we are. That's what Shiva is. That's what the whole of existence is. Okay? So we make a lot of mistakes because we see God as something outside of ourselves. And it's also probably the same mistake to say God is inside of ourselves as well, because it's both. But we can get to an understanding of it through our own inner researches. We have to make an inner journey. So we don't need to listen, in my opinion, to any of the religions of the world. You know, religion's one thing, spirituality is another. And you may follow one of the other religions of the world because all of them are paths up the same mountain. They all lead to the same ultimate understanding because the same God exists in all the religions. And, you know, people for their various reasons have chosen that, you know, said that only our path is the right one. And that's where it all falls down, because all the paths are equally good and they all apply to different people in different cultures and different temperaments, you know. They're just as valid. All the great religions of the world are just as valid as one another. And they all have the same God in common, don't they? I mean, you think of it, it's an omnipresent God, it's everywhere. God is everything, everywhere. It's the idea of the God as being love is definitely in every one of the religions when you look at them, you know. And God is basically, it comes to us all through our hearts, you know. That's the language of God is through our heart, you know. And all the rest is bunkum. If you just accept that, then that's your way in, you know. And you can get this not through the logic of people like Richard Dawkins, because, you know, see, he's coming from it in the wrong way in many ways. It's not a material thing. It's not something I can say, oh, there's God, this is God. You can measure it, you can qualify it, you can give a mathematical formula for it and so forth. No, you might better give a mathematical formula, but there's no, I don't think, so far at least, we haven't got the tools of science to be able to prove it. You know, we can't even prove the existence of consciousness, you know. We can say a person's awake, a person doesn't seem to be conscious now, they wake up again, they're conscious again, you know. Is it a thing of the mind? Is it a thing of the body? The mind can exist outside of the body in near-death states, so what's all that about, you know? You see, so mysticism, in many ways, is using different tools to science. And I believe that, you know, this spiritual type of knowledge takes over where science can't reach. You know, science can only go so far. It can measure the world around us, and it does a damn good job. It's understood the evolution of the human body. It hasn't understood the evolution of the human spirit, the human consciousness, the human, dare I say it, soul, you know. Those are the things of another form of science, the science of spirituality. So, does God exist? Well, that's for each of us to find and find out. I'm not going to say it's a question of belief. I'm going to say it's a question of knowing. You know, in my book, yeah, it's self-evident God exists, because all I need to do is go into a deep meditation, look deep within myself, and in that great depth of meditation, sometimes there's that fabulous peace. And that's not of the brain, because you understand that it's something that's beyond the brain. There's a sense of that great wonder and great vast expanse of the universe when we look deep within ourselves in those occasional moments of meditation where we touch that feeling of the oceanic feeling, that feeling that there's something more, you know, that I am huge and at the same time I'm completely irrelevant, you know. And when the eye starts to fade away, you start to see that the whole vastness of the Godhead is there within each of us. And we can all find that, you know. It's no big deal, you know. It sounds marvellous, but it's in all of us. We can all find that. We just have to go about it the right way and stop thinking of God as something separate from ourselves and really see God as something that is ourselves. Within us, and without us is all God, including our very awareness is all God. Jane and I now do our spiritual work for our foundation. All the profits that come from things like our conferences and theatres and workshops and all those exciting things now go into this foundation, which ultimately has the long-term plan of building centres in the UK and maybe around the world one day. But meanwhile, we've been doing a lot of direct spiritual work with it. We've been going out, feeding people in India, giving to the destitute, giving to beggars. We've helped feed schools, helped orphanages, and we've even given cows to older people that have no other form of income. So mediumship can change your life, but it can also help people directly in the world. So go to the links at the end and find out all about what Jane and I are trying to do. And you can do a lot just by sharing these videos on social media. Help us get the word out. Help us to do something really good in this world. Click on this picture of me to subscribe to our channel and see all of our latest videos as soon as they're published. Or click on this next video for more of our stuff.